going on, guys? It is Thursday, November 6th. We have started to record these so that we can post them onto YouTube for those people that are missing and people that don't, aren't able to make this live stream at the end of day. We do have a little bit of, like I said, we've been seeing a little bit of uncertainty in the markets. You can see over on my chart right here. It's basically played out to what I said. We were going to go up to this gap up here, bounce around, come right back out, reject it. We came down a little bit further than at first, but if you kind of look a little bit closer, it did bounce at first at my first, this little first area of support. We are now bouncing at a second part. I still think we could come down as far as 665. And again, there is a lot of concerns in the markets. I've got this thing pulled up on Twitter over here, and it was basically, I was talking to you guys about the Sam Altman interview, and the interviewer asked Sam, how are you going to pay for $1.4 trillion of commitments? And Altman responded, we make money, we will pay. Do you want to sell your shares? I'll find you a buyer. People can short OpenAI shares if they don't trust me. And, just like, why would you say that? It kind of, it's very defensive to be saying something like that. And it definitely makes you wonder, I don't really think they know what they're about to do, what they need to do. And keep in mind, just yesterday, he just basically asked for a bailout. So there's definitely cracks in the system. This AI bubble that we've created, and there's a lot of other things. I posted something and I shared it with Max yesterday, where basically Meta is doing they're basically reporting their books and reporting their revenues and what's going on with their money. They're doing basically what happened during the financial crisis. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on that is showing that there's less and less confidence in where things are going right now, just because all this money went into the markets, all this money pushed all these AI names up, but there was no real plan just yet. Okay, let me find that article. It was just a Twitter post by someone. Meta's hiding $30 billion in AI infrastructure debt off its balance sheet using special purpose vehicles, echoing the financial engineering that triggered Enron's collapse and the 2008 mortgage crisis. So, I mean, take it for what it is. There's a lot more of these bits of research that are showing up. I mean, I will say it is off of Twitter, but, take it for what it is so far. There's definitely creative accounting going on with a lot of these. And keep in mind, we keep talking about this, the entire circle jerk that's going on with all these AI companies, all the tech companies that are getting involved, semiconductors, etc. They're passing money around to each other. This circular financing doesn't actually add any real value, and it's really just causing inflation, or not they're causing these names and the valuations of these companies to be completely inflated. So yeah, there's no real value. The example that I was using is that I saw a good one where, you and your buddy go open up a business each. Okay, you open up a business where you dig holes. He opens up a business where he fills in holes. Okay, you report that you made $100,000, and you both report that you're gonna buy $100,000 worth of services from each other, and no holes actually get dug. Okay, so the hole that was dug and the hole that was filled canceled each other out. You both report that you made 100K. Now, did any money change hands? Was there really any value created? Was there any work actually done? No. And that's kind of what's going on right now. It's I'll promise you this many billions of dollars of chips. You're going to buy this many billions of dollars of services from me. And it's going to go onto our books and it's going to inflate our company's value. So that's where we're at. I still have this chart out. I think we could see either a rejection here, or maybe we could come back up toward about 676. That's kind of where I've got that charted, that we could see another drop from. And reminder too, we're 2.5, not even 2.5, 2.39% from the top all-time highs. And you can already see and kind of feel the fear that's in the markets right now. Especially if you go onto CNN's fear and greed index. As of today, we are we're no longer in extreme fear. We're in regular fear, 26 out of 100. And a lot of it has to do with the differences between the top and bottom companies in the markets right now. Volatility is kind of neutral. Volatility is around 19 or so today. So, we don't pull that up. My fix. There we go. I told you guys just a few days ago, volatility is probably back on the menu, and it is. So it is a situation where we just have to be careful, because if we do see a break up above 20, when we come back up to these other numbers up here, that's where people are worried that there might be some sort of crash incoming. Give me 1 sec. Let me get this dog. All right. In other news, I know there's a lot of people asking about that. The two big names that reported yesterday for us in our Discord, Snapchat and Lyft. Okay, so Snapchat reported great numbers. First off, they reported 50% higher than what their expected was. Their estimate was that they're going to lose about 12 cents. They reported a loss of 6 cents. They reported more revenue, but at the end of the day, they are still losing money. Okay, they're still losing money. The big news was that they are partnering with Perplexity AI to bring Snapchat within their ecosystem, or their Perplexity is going to be integrated. And the interesting thing here is that Perplexity AI will be paying Snapchat $400 million in order to do this. All right. So what it basically shows is that they are finally learning to leverage the user base that they have. Snapchat has almost 1 billion users on a monthly basis, monthly active users. I do believe on the daily, it was like 400 or 500 million active users. So, it's pretty crazy to think about how overall they built a platform. They haven't monetized it very well, but they're starting to. And they are starting to bring in revenue with the fact that they added the Snapchat Plus subscription, where if you want additional storage from them, anything over 5 gigabytes, you have to pay for it, which is fair. A lot of people didn't like it, but again, if they don't like it, then they just need to, they will be left with certain limits on their accounts. So we saw this huge blow off top overnight. We saw Snapchat move up nearly 25%, maybe a little bit over that. And then we just started to see it kind of sell off and chop around. I will point out, though, that this is what we want to consider as a impulse move. Okay, so if you're familiar with Elliott wave theory, an impulse move is just when everybody flocks to the markets or flocks to a certain stock name and money starts to pour in. Right at this point, we definitely have more buyers than sellers that have pushed the price up to a certain level. And then what you usually do is you measure that with a Fibonacci ratio, and you can gauge to see how strong that move is depending on how far it comes back down. But coming back down to the 0.618, which you can see in here, is actually fairly common. And that, in this situation, actually created this ABC pattern in terms of a retracement. So it's still a little bit too early to tell, but this could end up turning into our wave 1 into wave 2. and then we can see maybe a little chop around before we move up again for wave 3. And this would be on a smaller level, but I would say my next target for wave 3, very likely we could see above 10 and potentially up toward 11 as well. So you want to think about it this way too. Before earnings, there was, there was the company's fundamentals, what they do, the monthly users they have, the way they make money. Obviously, we were talking about it yesterday as well during our live, that some things have started to change for them. They were, with the whole storage thing that they've got going on, now they can charge for storage, they can wipe out certain storage, which is going to change their bottom line, which is reflected with their balance sheet now. Then we also have a bunch of stuff coming up with the spectacles, the glasses that they're making. They are going to create that as a separate entity in which they control. That way they can open it up to additional partnerships and things like that. So I think that there's just going to be a lot more news to come from Snapchat that's going to push it up higher and higher each time we hear it. It's, right now, that's kind of the name of the game. Every single stock that we see right now is, moving off of these catalysts. Hey, who are they partnering with? What is this new deal that they got that's going to fund X, Y, and Z with them? Okay. So Snapchat, I'm glad they finally did that. It played out according to my thesis right before earnings and during earnings. I know the pullback here seems kind of strong because we did see 25% overnight. But I will remind you guys, the expected move for Snapchat was about 16%, which we did actually see. And it's now back down to it's up 12%. And I know for most of us, because we're in options for this, it was kind of disappointing to, estimate what the possible returns could have been, overnight and things like that. And to see it, not exactly move. I noticed that at market open, the options chain took a little bit for it to actually, balance out and start to show up. And a lot of, for a 10% move to the upside, you also have to remember there's a little bit of IV crush and things like that. A lot of those positions didn't move quite as much as I know some of you have expected. But that's why we always, and we told you guys, get those January or June contracts for next year. This is just the start of it all. All right. If they're going to announce this with Perplexity AI, what are the other possibilities that can come up? There's a possibility that with their Snapchat, the glasses that they're making, there's a very good possibility that they're going to find some sort of, one of the semiconductor companies, whether somebody to design a special chip for them. So that could be like ARM. We could get one of the big manufacturers. It could be Intel, actually. That could be the fab that ends up working with them. We'll see what ends up happening with it. But apparently there is a lot of development with it, and there is going to be demand for those glasses for the AR and a setup for that. So just be patient with this. I know I've been telling you guys that a lot. As long as we hold this $8 range, I think this is just kind of a normal new move. Imagine, though, too, any sort of stock moving 12% overnight. That's a pretty solid and pretty good sign for it to go off of. All right. The next one that we have is Lyft. Lyft kind of gave us a little bit of a scare at first. We saw it move down overnight off of its earnings. Its earnings were poor. I believe it was because they spent a lot of money on one of their programs, and as a result, it ate into their bottom line. All right, so they missed their earnings EPS. Their revenue is now almost flat, but down and negative just a little bit. So it was poor off the start of it. But you have to remind yourself, Lyft is one of the biggest competitors to Uber, and it has a lot of potential with it. And so overnight, we actually saw it drop. But from that drop till now, it's actually up about 15%. So actually, for the day, it's up 8%, which is pretty good. I'm still in March calls for this. I'm not even I've already told you guys for both this and Snapchat, I have some pretty high targets for them just because they both are finishing up an accumulation type of pattern. And once these finish up and we move into the final phases of it, we do see some big moves away from it. So I'm expecting some big news to come for them as well. As of right now, our markets very much are moving off of those announcements. And again, it could be this next earnings that we see in February that makes that final move. But as of right now, I'm expecting it to break up above this 20, 21, 22 range. And we do have this giant gap up here that is being looked to, potentially to be filled with that next move. I would definitely expect it to come up toward the top of it, close to 30, probably reject, and depending on the amount of fuel that news has, we could potentially see it go higher. Just as well, my Snapchat targets right now, I do think we're going above 10 pretty soon, and then up to 12 to 15 is that next range. And then if we have this upper range up here above 17 and another gap up to about 21. So there's a lot of potential. This is the kind of stock where you could just grab shares and hold on to them. I would not be surprised for this to be much, much more valuable down the line. Imagine you're buying it at $8 here. You could, double to triple your money within the next year or two with this one. Okay. I wanted to say, you had a question here today. What do I think about, oh yeah. Why do I think we'll see higher for Snapchat next week? Well, you have to remember, and this is more so of what goes on with options markets. Now, options markets do move prices of stocks, but you also have to understand that the market maker has what's basically called maximum pain, where the certain number of options contracts expiring at the end of the week basically puts money into the options market maker's pocket. All right. So when we see very large expirations, so we have our monthly or weeklies, our monthlies, our quarterlies, and obviously the biggest ones are usually those quarterly contracts where multiple options contracts all expire on the same day. You got futures, you got regular options, all that. And so understand that with them all expiring on the same day, the options market maker has more incentive to kind of move the ticker in certain ways. That's where you can kind of get a hint into it with gamma exposure, Van exposure, which is what TraderLink, what we have, also does. By the way, I got notice that we are working on moving that stuff over to STAX in due time. We're just trying to get everything to work and flow properly before we do that. But the options market maker has an incentive to buy and sell stocks in order to keep price within a certain range so that they can profit from it at the end of the day. And especially with names that have earnings, what you'll notice is that IV is going to go real high. Market makers are working their butt off to try to hedge that exposure. And a lot of times what you will notice is that Friday, you may see some price suppression up through that Friday. And then the very next week, it kind of like opens the floodgates. You start to see, price move to where it really wants to go. And so that's kind of what I think about this is seeing overnight, seeing that Snapchat move 25% is a great indication that there is demand for Snapchat stock and that people do see the value of where this is going to head up. However, the market maker seeing that 25% kind of freaks out going, oh shoot, I need to hedge my exposure. And one of the ways that they can do is they can actually push that price back down so they can snatch it up at these lower prices so that once, people that have the $10, $11 strike for next week and things like that, they'll actually have enough of those shares to offer them. All right. It's very complex, the options market. But at the end of the day, you just have to understand is there is manipulation behind the scenes. and they can do their best to try to ensure that they're going to be set up in a way where they're not going to lose any money in the process of it. Okay. So the expectation was yesterday that we were going to see a 16% move on Snapchat. We actually saw that. It kind of hovered around that throughout the night. And throughout the day today, we saw it drop down. It's dropped down to about a 10 to 12% move up to the upside. I think tomorrow we will see some more moves around. Options market maker will probably do their best to try to move it to max pain. But I do think next week it kind of opens up the floodgates. We've got that week, next week, and then we also have I think it's triple witching, which is going to be November 21st, which is another one of the expiration dates. Okay, so it's very complex. You can always look into it a little bit more on your own. But at the end of the day, I think that the first indication was that we did move up 25% overnight, and that is a good possibility that we should head up further. Another thing to consider too is that the markets themselves was fairly weak throughout the morning today, and Lyft and Snapchat both moved pretty strong relative to that as well. Okay. Triple witching, quad witching, definitely one of the worst weeks to trade just because volatility goes up the wazoo. Next one. I know we've got TTD on deck for today. I got to peek over at what other earnings we have. TTD has a bigger version of this wave 1, 2, and then potentially 3 coming up here. So we did have this move up, this impulse marked by the large volume at the bottom over here. Marks that first move. We kind of see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. Then we see a big ABC retracement. Okay. So as of right now, it's right where you kind of want it to be. If they are able to report some decent earnings and, blow some of those expectations out of the water, maybe reveal what's going on with them that can improve their bottom line, I do think we see another impulse move up. I see that we should retest where this recently did at about the 56 level and then potentially move up into this gap. I know Ducky is pretty heavy in this position. He's the main one that has, he's done the majority of his due diligence, his DD with this so far. A lot of us have followed along with it, but at the end of the day, it looks prime and it looks set up. I will also kind of point out this little area right here really reminds me of what we saw with Snapchat back down here, right? You see this here with Snapchat. We move up, we come back down, and then we move up again. Okay. TTD very similar too. Very, very low, move up, come back down, and we'll see that next move up again. All right. So again, earnings is always going to be gamble. Maybe they're going to report something that doesn't, sit with investors that well, sit well with the algorithms, and we might see it sell back off. But I would definitely say if we even do come back down below 44, 43, we probably won't come down too far below it, and then it'll start to recover there. So let's jump into here just so we see Snapchat, just to pull up for you guys, right? Kind of very small premiums in here, so fairly mixed, but we did see quite a bit of calls that came back down from not too much in terms of flow today. A lot of calls that were sold off, some puts that were bought, but those are in the money. Very small premiums for these. Okay. Lyft. I don't see too much with Lyft. Nothing came in for Lyft today. Still positive on WaveX, so that's a good sign for that. TTD, we do have these 2-0. Oh, now 2. Earlier it was just 1. Aiming for 47 and 48, which are very, very small moves, though. I will point that out. Okay. Combined, look at this: 372K and 386K. I mean, what would you be willing to put that much money on a straight gamble? Because let's just say this stays flat for tomorrow and it stays at 46.99. This is going to lose out this entire premium right here. So, they're willing to spend $4 per contract on it. Yeah, his position will be wiped out completely if it stays 1 cent below their strike. And also, I will point out too, consider, and this is a small calculation you can always make, take the amount that they're paying, add it to the strike. That's their break even. So if they hold it all the way through expiration of tomorrow, this has to hit 51 and 10 cents for them to be completely even. Now, obviously, IV, it doesn't have to go right to that number or higher for them to potentially be profitable. Okay. But that break even point is kind of like a line in the sand of, hey, it needs to move toward that number fairly quickly for this position to be profitable by the end of the day. Okay. Both calls and puts are down, sold off. So there's nothing really to be said with TTD right now in terms of WaveX. But I will say these two are kind of eye-opening, because why the hell would you get into this position is basically giving away money to the market maker if it doesn't make that move. So I think there's a good possibility these two might know something about how we will see TTD move at least over 48 and 47 by, oh, let me double check. What's it at? It's at 4. Oh, it dropped a little bit. 46.78. Okay, so again, it's got to move. 48 is, I think 48 is a decent target. I do think that we should see above 50 if we see a strong earnings report and a move up. All right. Real quick, let me peek out what other earnings. I'll get to all of your guys' tickers in a moment too. Oh, we do see open report today too. Will open report positive numbers that make people happy about it? Maybe they'll fix up their net margin. All right, let's see. Nothing to be said on WaveX. Some calls coming in. This one's short-term, $7 or higher. Okay. They're already down on that one. That's a very small premium though. $7 strike, so below. Okay. Open's been trading like a meme stock. If it fails to meet those expectations, we're coming right back down to about $4 to $5. If it does have some sort of positive result, we definitely could see it come back up toward about 850, maybe 9.5 or so. So those are where I'd put that upper line, lower end, lower end. Yeah, like that lower end right there. IREN. Kind of hard to tell with some of these because they've already run up pretty hard. I would lean more bullish on this with the flow. Got some good money on it, but that doesn't help a ton. That right there is not the most appealing right there. Okay, what else? Soundhound. Nothing today. Inflow. More bearish than bullish, but both underneath the $0 line. Chopped around. I mean, you could say this went up to where I had expected pretty quickly, but it's come all the way back down since then. So what am I looking for when I go here? I'm just looking at that net margin, the orange dot, net margin. So is Soundhound a profitable company? No, not at this point. They definitely played off of the AI name in their title. Last earnings, they surprised by a negative 100% surprise to the downside, but it also popped like crazy then. So I really think it's going to be based upon whether or not this actually shows improvements on these numbers or not. DraftKings, Archer, and Airbnb. DraftKings has been hurting, and the big reason for this has a lot to do with the fact that they're getting a lot of their market share stolen right out from underneath them. So Polymarket, right? Polymarket, Kalshi, you got prediction markets with Robinhood. This has finished its pattern, so there is, I mean, I think this is kind of a overestimate that it could come down towards $7. That's a little bit much. I would say after earnings, I would not be surprised to see them come down toward maybe 25. DraftKings, yeah, more puts than calls. That's kind of aligned with what I'm saying here. But yeah, the short term here puts under 27, 84 cents. That, I think that's a decent little gamble right there. The only other thing is the fact that sports season's all the way all back now, right? So, the money is flowing back in because it's basically like the casino's back open again. You've got a lot more stuff to bet on right now. But I've always kind of wondered with this stuff. Yeah, number one, I've always believed that large you know the way I explain it is you can't run a business without a solid bottom line. And at the end of the day, every large sports institution, sports enterprise, they all have a bottom line to worry about. That's why you like to see game sevens when it comes down to the playoffs. That's why you like to see the bigger names go to bigger markets so that they can sell more tickets. And I've always believed that there is going to be, stuff happening behind the scenes that people would look at and say, well, that's not fair, or that's not playing the game honestly and fair outright. But that's one of the things. It's money. It's how these companies make money. That's why Luka ended up on the Lakers. That's why I mean, NBA is full of it. All the way back, especially with David Stern when he was commissioner. There's a lot of little bits of rigging that happen in order for money to flow in the right direction. So you have to keep in mind too, these companies, baseball, MLB, NBA, football, NFL, all of this stuff is all considered entertainment. Okay. So there's actually technically nothing wrong with them setting things up for their business to do better because it's meant for entertainment. If it was like, and I've always said too, if it truly was an honest game and it was focused upon making sure that the best team always wins, why have we not moved all referees to computers and allowing an automated process to call things out? We could put sensors in their jerseys so that you can measure the amount of force and contact that they're taking. You can use slow motion cameras to see if somebody stepped out of bounds, and there can be a horn blown the moment they step out of bounds. You can, all this stuff. Why are we still letting human error play a factor into it? Well, because at the end of the day, there's a narrative to be said, and there's supposed to be, there's a bottom line for these companies to make. Now, the scandal for the basketball thing, yes, that's been going around for a bit. I believe that has a little, like, that, number one, they said it has ties to the mafia. The other thing is it has a bit to do with like poker and like luring people into playing poker with a rigged system. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily reflect upon these betting markets themselves. it's more so focused on, like the NBA and the individuals in particular that are involved with it. So I've always been like 50-50 with these types of names. Like DraftKings, okay, I understand, the casino, the house always wins. However, you always see these little like prop bets where this person took $10 and put it on like 25 different prop bets. And there's a screenshot of them winning from $10, winning over 100K or 500K off of this one bet. To me, as a business owner, I'm just like, I understand that it's all calculated through probabilities and you've got your computers setting this up. But at what point do too many of these prop bets hit that really put you in the red? Right? That's always been my question of it. It's like, yes, I'm sure a big part of it is a part of their marketing strategy where they show these things on social media so they get more people to go sign up. But also at the end of the day, what does happen if too many of these do suddenly hit? Or are they really just messing with the numbers behind the scenes so that those never do hit? Right. But how many of those $10 bets do you need to make up for one of those losses? So mathematically, to me, I've always been a little bit hesitant with these types of names. I will say DraftKings right now, oh, that tick up right here, more toward the bear side. And because we have this head and shoulders pattern that is played out, I'd go on the bearish side of this one. But that's just me. Again, earnings can be a gamble. No pun intended here with DraftKings. What else? We have, I'm trying to get to these before we close. Archer, ACHR. I know a lot of you guys are in on this one. This is another one of Ducky's favorites. We do have some puts coming in more recently, a little bit more bearish than bullish. This is, I think, one of the longer term holds if you really want to be in on it. Yeah, I thought this breakout was going to be it for it to move up, and it didn't hold. So it does have the accumulation pattern looking to it. This, I mean, I would actually say this could be the area where if you're going to get in on this, this is probably where to get in on it. Get in here and maybe average down if it comes down to about 826. But I think this company has got a good future ahead of it. Again, though, just yeah, they don't have they don't make money at this point. So it's two-sided. Right now, these markets, right now, there's a lot of these companies that are set up for the future, but until they truly make money, there's always going to be doubt in the minds of investors, right? This kind of aligns with where Snapchat is right now. Snapchat's on the verge of flipping that script, but in this situation, they don't make any money. Their net income, they have no revenue. They're losing. Oh, another thing about the DraftKings situation. So you can only there's certain states where you're not allowed to gamble on DraftKings and on FanDuel and things like that because they're actually gambling platforms, sports betting. The thing about like Polymarket and even Robinhood prediction markets is they found this loophole that is considered prediction markets and not actually gambling. You're still gambling. That's what it is at the end of the day. But they've categorized it differently. So that's why a lot of people have maybe gravitated toward that. And it's captured market share from certain states that aren't able to necessarily go and do that. Okay. So just another tidbit to consider. Let me get my last one here. So Archer, a little bit bearish on it, especially most recently. A lot of mixed stuff though. And then Airbnb. Looking bearish on that. I can't imagine right now in this current economy that too many people are necessarily going out and traveling. I'm sure the traveling's kind of taken a little bit of a slowdown with the government shutdown in the last month. So some little things to possibly consider there. Obviously, they could still blow out expectations. Um, there is some decent support where we're at, and if it does drop lower, 116 and then 112, I would say set a pretty decent floor right now. And if it is to go up, it's got a lot of volume to fight through if it wants to go up higher. So I don't think of this as necessarily a big move in either direction. It's definitely looking more bearish at this point, though. Yeah, Airbnb. I'm thinking bearish with it. Okay. I'm gonna get to all you guys' tickers as we close. It's kind of done what I've said in terms of this side of it. Came down, it's rounding out. I think we see maybe a handle form here. The only thing is though that next Friday is very, very close for this. Yeah. I mean, you got a cup, you got another handle. I think we make another little handle here. I would just be careful because that expiration date that you have is very, very close. But I do think we should come back toward about 170 or so and go higher from there. But that could take through the rest of the month. No. Yeah, I mean, the 14th is just, it's definitely like you got what, 250? You got to get all the way up here. You still got to fight through all this not uncharted territory, but got to break through all of that in order to get back up there. So I would say either push that contract further out or kind of save the premium that you have. I maybe you'll hold on through Monday. Maybe you'll see a little bit of price movement Monday, but 14th, 7, you got technically just six trading days left for this to move. Okay, let me go through. I'm scrolling back to double check. You guys had a couple things you asked. Oracle filled their gap. So now it's make or break time. Now they really have to just, does money come back into it? Do they make more announcements? Or does it start to relax back down to earth? And this entire move becomes it's basically been invalidated so far, the entire move. And I will say I haven't necessarily today we see puts being sold. We don't necessarily see calls being bought. Quite a bit of activity for today, though. I will give you that. But it's more bearish, I would say. A lot of big money aiming for it to drop back down. WaveX also shows more puts than calls right here. So Oracle, I wouldn't necessarily say looking too great right now. I have my doubts about it too, right? They said a lot of things right, but then when it comes down to proving what they're capable of, I don't think anything's really happening with it. I think I'm a little biased on Costco. I've said this before. Especially ever since the baby came. Always buying diapers and going to Costco to get stuff in bulk because we don't want to leave the house as much. Anytime I go to Costco, like again, I don't work a regular 9 to 5, so I try to go to Costco during like hours where there's going to be fewer people. I hate going to Costco on Saturday and Sunday because there's always going to be a line. I've never been to Costco where it's not packed at this point. Like I would say probably before COVID hit and things like that. There are times where I would go to Costco and it really would be like me and maybe a handful of people walking around getting stuff, especially because I like to go during the hours where there isn't going to be anyone. It's like 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. on a Tuesday or something like that, where everybody's supposed to be at work. But I've noticed is just that there's always people at Costco at this point. Their PE ratio is a little bit high. Their earnings isn't coming up until December. Probably saw a little bit of a dip because their dividend paid out as well. I don't know. I've always found it hard to say anything bad about Costco. And did you know that the majority of their profits actually just come from their their memberships? Okay, their memberships are basically what make all their money. Well, we always buy stuff from Costco and then realize we did not need that much stuff. Because I mean it's just me, my wife, and the baby. The baby's not gonna eat that much. So but diapers and certain things, there's always certain things that we're always going there for at this point. It is looking a little bit bearish on it right now, at least. And I will say if it breaks down below this right here, I think we could revisit 900 and then maybe drop a little below it. But we do have quite a bit of buyers and sellers here, so below 883 would be hard to see. I think we see some stepping in there. You. Bearish on wave X, but small premiums. Small premiums at this point. Yeah. This is uranium, right? Yeah, uranium. One of the theories behind how we're going to actually take care of all this data center energy demand is that we're going to move into nuclear a little bit more. Now, I know nuclear isn't the best word because people always assume it related to nuclear bombs, but nuclear energy can actually be one of the safest and most most efficient ways of generating energy, but there's just always going to be public pushback to it because people don't really like the name and don't really like the word. It is at a point of resistance or a point of support. I could see it bouncing here, but it's kind of lost its momentum. It's started to come back down. So it is in kind of a little bit of a wedge pattern. So this is a bullish pattern where it could break back up to the top side. Ooh, MP looking ugly. MP is down 50% from those highs back in October. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, sorry. Looking more bearish. I don't like the way that it's come down all the way here. I think we could see it come back down toward this range, to be honest. It's lost all momentum. This could be one of those market cycle type of charts right now. Something like that is what I would see. Yeah, it's another one of those companies that doesn't really make anything at this point. So net margin is negative. They are able to prove something with it, then yeah, but otherwise I think it's doing this blow off top market cycle. Oh, I saw Peloton drop pretty hard today, by the way. What's my chart? Oh. By the way, if You see, this has already happened in the beginning. Then it happens, very possibly it's going to happen again. That's what I kind of see with it right now. AMSC, SMCI. Kind of same thing. Starting to look kind of ugly, especially on the weekly. This is dropping hard. Dropping hard off of this earnings beat, technically. Revenue missed by a little bit. Man, that is ugly. 38% down today. Yeah, we might be seeing signs of the market top, to be honest. I had SMCI as a possible Wyckoff accumulation pattern. It's showing some weakness right now. They're starting to break down below here. A little bit of it's getting snatched up. It is at a point of control, so let's do this real quick. SMCI. Let's do ASMC as well. Yeah, it's looking bearish right now for it. Indeterminate on WaveX for so short term, not too sure. But we do have a lot of calls that have been sold off. AMSC. Sorry. Yeah, this was just a STAX AI call out. They might double check OI, see if they're still in it. They very possibly, if it's all the way for January, they might just have some knowledge that will take some time for it to hit. Yeah. TTD reports earnings today. Airbnb bearish. By the way, those of you that are in the chat, help me out because I was focused on these charts. I didn't answer everybody's questions. Let me know if I missed one of your questions, by the way. ASMC print. I mean, is the print cooked? I don't know, because you want to remember, and this is something that Daniel did for us in our STAX backtesting, which, by the way, I still got to finish that. Finally have some time today to do it. But a lot of STAX AI prints do tend to go down before they go back up. All right, so keep an eye out for how long they, how much time they purchased, and that's always going to be your hint as to, and keep an eye out for that open interest, because that's going to be your hint as to what's going on. Dang, TTD's selling off before this. We saw this happen with Snapchat yesterday too, by the way. Saw it sell off right before earnings report. So, markets do some crazy things. A lot of times they'll go in the other direction before you finally see it move. Yeah, but it's just back down to the area where all these people are in on, right? And you saw all this, you saw a decent amount of volume at this range. So there are buyers at this price. Keep that in mind. So my take on earnings a lot of times, so basically what it is if it runs up hard into earnings, now there's more of a risk that it's going to drop after, right? If it drops before earnings, now you have a higher probability that it can go back up, especially if it's a solid company, it does well in terms of its revenue and its bottom line. Okay. If it trades flat, obviously it can go either direction, but just remind yourself that a lot of times the market's going to do its best to really manipulate it as much as possible. Yeah, there's no direct correlation with it, but for me, if I'm bullish on something and something kind of sells off a bit before earnings, If it goes right into a demand and supply zone, I'm not too worried about that. So, oh, there we go. TTD, first move, 8%. See, 11%. Y'all need to go apologize to Ducky. Like right now. Tag him and say, "We love you, Ducky." Straight up. The amount of doubt when it comes down to some of our analysis. Go tell Ducky how much you love him. 12%, 13%. All right. Beat revenue, beat EPS. Oh, back and forth, back and forth. Needs to hold on to it. Airbnb dropped, came right back down, or came back up. Soundhound, nowhere so far. Archer, nothing quite yet. I think everybody just wants to watch TTD, to be honest. But that is a giant wick to the upside. Gave up more than half of that, though. Back and forth. Now only up 2%. Yeah, first move is usually the wrong move. First move is a liquidity grab sometimes, but I don't know. I've seen it do this before and it still goes back up. I mean, y'all are an option, so it's not like I can do anything till tomorrow morning anyway. So this is what I do. I set my alert for above and below, then you can go do something else. Let's see what else. Let's look at open. Open dying. Oh no, it's only a 2% move. Oh, on the lower end, it took that out. DraftKings. Man, all these guys reported quick. DraftKings has not reported just yet. Oh, that first move. 2% on open is brutal. Yeah, it is. It's a very cheap stock to begin with. I think it took... Okay, went down to my resistance zone and jumped right up from that the moment it touched this level that I drew. So that's why you always want to have your levels drawn out if possible. TTD is basically flat right now, so it'll make a decision. Give it some time to digest. Yeah, SPY coming back down a bit. Oh, there we go. Soundhound down. Like I said, I needed to update that. Yeah, down 10%, Soundhound. The AI hype is dying. That's what it is. Yep, they're in the prove it group, and they did not prove it. Fell flat on their face. TTD down not even 0.5% so far. Like I told you guys here, I don't think it's going to break below this range right here. It'll test it out and then move back up. So TTD is a conference call mover. Yeah. Airbnb up slightly. Basically recovered what it lost today. IREN. Oh, up slightly. Yeah, TTD's flat. Airbnb is up now. It's trying to make a move. Oh, DKNG. No report from DraftKings just yet. Now it's down 3%. Yeah, DraftKings is going to report it in 7 minutes. Oh, that was the first get leaked. No. Oh, some of these moves. Up and down, up and down. Well, yeah, I mean, basically what Max and I have been saying. Companies that are pre-revenue, haven't made any money, haven't proven themselves, it's all that point. You know, they got to make sure that they show, you know, they can survive as a company, especially right now as it gets tougher and tougher for everybody. Soundhound dropped. I'll say IREN being up is a little surprising, up 4%. Oh, hold on. Net income swings to profit. There we go. That's why. There we go. I like it. That's why they're up now. Do you need a bar chart account? I think what I find on Twitter from them is enough most of the times. All right, so my area of resistance right here that I drew. We'll see if TTD holds it. All right, consider that it came down, but it's holding this area. It's not dropping through it. So this is where everybody's at. This is the lower end of it. It'll revisit it, and then we'll see the move afterwards. Yeah, if you find it useful. Airbnb's up now. So Take-Two, they own GTA, and they just said GTA 6 will be launching November 19th, 2026. So they delayed it even further. They're down 10% now because of it. Oh my God. GTA 6. Oh my God. All right, TTD, you're going to come back. Here, let me extend it to the bottom of that range. This is the furthest it can go. Yeah, you can always count on the fact that they're going to delay GTA. Oh, TTD dropping. Are they going to come all the way down here? I have something charted. Oh yeah, that's the other spot. That's all the way back in 2022. $500 million share purchase reauthorization or repurchase authorization. Yeah, they beat revenue and EPS. All right then. Yep, swept that previous low. Swept it right there. Now it's going back to where liquidity is from 2022. Down 8% now. Man, what a swap. I got that candle there, guys. Airbnb is up. SoundHound, oh, decent recovery off of it. DraftKings has dropped 8%. There we go. Nothing's been reported just yet. Look, right at where I said it was gonna fluctuate at. 25, 25.45. That's where the bounce happens. Oh, it's going to break down further. DraftKings down 10%. DraftKings going lower. All right, went to my other zone. I mean, TTD numbers weren't bad. Obviously, just not as great as they could have been. All right, starting to see a recovery. Yeah, just up to the conference call. I will point this out, guys, by the way. Look at today. 320 million puts for SPY. 177 million puts for QQQ. 85 million puts for IWM. So we'll say a lot of bigger institutions think we're at a top here. So be careful. Be careful. Oh, this is all for tomorrow. Sheesh. Remember, Max said that there was word on the street we'll see a crash on Thursday. Has it maybe been moved to Friday? It's a lot of puts. All 0 days to expiration here. This week and next week. Oh, hey, look what it did. TTD is starting to make a little bit of a recovery, so we'll keep an eye out for this throughout the after hours. Anybody got anything else you guys want me to peek over at? What was it that I had? I wanted to show you guys. What did I have charted? Oh, what happened with ACHR? They're up a little bit. Archer. Man, that pop that we saw did not hold. This pop that we saw came right back down to supply and demand. It's at some decent areas of resistance. I said for Archer, this could be a good area to be looking to potentially add. If you're still bullish on this for the long run, go grab some shares for yourself. Gemini space station looks ugly. This looks ugly. It's got to break out. I mean, it is coiling up, so probably some sort of move to the upside, breakout to the upside, but how high it might go is the question. Will it even break? I don't even know if it'll break 20. Enter prediction markets. Everybody's entering prediction markets. All right, let's see how TTD plays out by tomorrow. All right. All right, keep an eye out, you guys, for Max's live. I'm sure he'll go live in a bit. You guys can also go join him there. If you got other questions, you guys know where to find me. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll see if there's anything going on worth talking about, but usually I don't stream on Fridays. Unless something big happens, unless there's worthwhile news. Hope you guys learned something today. Hope you guys I know TTD's news isn't exactly what we wanted to see. Had us excited for a moment there before it went in the other direction. There still is their earnings call, so we'll see what happens from there. Reminder, I'm still in my Snapchat, my lift positions. I had a small TTE position. That's probably gonna open up pretty red going into tomorrow. But at the end of the day, I mean, you gotta measure your risk and what probabilities you have and make sure that you manage your risk. That's what we always say. Yeah, it looks like a discount to some of us, and we'll see how many times they say AI, but I will say the AI trade is starting to look a little bit weaker on the daily right now. So starting to look like we're in that prove it phase, like Max and I have been saying. A lot of these companies need to start proving that there's something that's going to come out of all of this. Otherwise, the valuations are going to start to come back, right back down. I will also say, like, look at Meta too. I basically have it charted that it's going to come back down to this range. After the first, drop from earnings, I thought there was a possibility for it to come back up, and I said on the worst case scenario we come back down toward the low 600s, and looks like we've just been doing that at this point. Did you look at Metaflow? Let me see. Yeah. I mean, it's back and forth. We still got calls coming in too. Yeah. Oh my God. Look at all those calls sold off though. 120 million of calls sold off. That's rough. That's rough. 120 mil of calls sold off. So yeah, same with SPY. SPY is definitely looking very bearish right now. You see that? So wouldn't be surprised to see a red Friday tomorrow. Somebody on the main chat wants this. I'm screenshotting it for them. All right. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day. I will chat with you guys later. Message me if you need to. I'm always here to help if you need us. Have a great rest of your day. See you guys soon.